When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So, finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content, anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeleine Digan, and this is
#managed. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of #managed. Hey Madeleine, how's it going? How was your weekend/week? I feel like I have to say that now if we record later in the week.
Yes, it was good. My weekend was incredible. So, I told you guys last weekend I was going to Tennessee for my college roommate's wedding and a day date with Brennan, and it was so magical. There are no words for how beautiful. We were in Pigeon Forge. I think that's
Oh,
how I say it.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
just oh my gosh. I'll make sure to post some pictures to our newsletter so you guys can see, but it was stunning. It was amazing celebrating my roommate, and she looked absolutely gorgeous. I think hopefully none of my other friends are listening to this, but I think her bridesmaid dress was one of the favorite I've worn, and I think that we're finally closing the or turning the page on that chapter of my life. I feel like my 27 dresses is coming to an end. And so that was great. And then Brendan and I's day date was also really fun. What was funny though is so we knew we were going to be getting there early. And so we're driving along and I'm looking around and I saw out of the corner of my eye the place in which I thought we were going to. And I was like, hey, isn't that where we're going? And he looked at his GPS and he was like, no, no, no. And then he realized like he was going to be taking us to the distillery and that's not where we
Oh,
wanted to go. So he's like,
yeah.
wait, that is where we want to go. So I was like, good eye, good eye.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, how was your weekend?
Yeah, no, that sounds so fun. I've never been to Pigeon Forge, but I've seen just like photos and videos of it being like a really cool like weekend getaway, I guess you could say. So that's awesome that that's where the wedding was and you
Yeah.
guys did the little date out of it as well. So that was a win-win. But my weekend was good. It was just filled with, like I said on a couple episodes, I'm in the process of moving and actually in today, I'm like moving today as we're like recording the podcast. So we're doing it pretty early. It's been very hectic, like with any move. I don't think moving ever goes smoothly for anyone, but it's fine. You expect it and you just kind of move on. So we spent the whole weekend kind of packing up all of our things in our apartment. And I have to say, I have so much stuff. Like, I have like going through like my like makeup and like skincare drawers. Like, I have so much stuff, and I haven't shopped for any of that in what feels like months and months. So I'm like, I don't know if I did like a really big like shopping spree, like, but I don't ever do really big like Sephora hauls or like anything like that. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I've accumulated so many items, and I know I get like a lot of things like free samples, right? Like you get like different things when with like a Sephora order or whatnot. And I also feel like the place that I go to get a facial, they're always giving me like free product. Like it's just like incentive, like I guess incentives for like getting your facial. A lot of times it's like not even skincare, it's like makeup. Like they're giving like clean beauty and stuff, which I think is cool because it helps me find new brands. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so many things that I don't like, I need to use. So it's kind of like I was like shopping in my own like
Yeah.
stuff, which, is kind of silly. But other than that, that was pretty much what my weekend was filled with, that and also going to like some of our favorite restaurants before we leave. Mainly a lot of like seafood restaurants because New England seafood is so different from anywhere else in the world. So yeah, that was my weekend. And I look forward to this weekend being over because it's another moving slash driving weekend. So
Yes.
I'll have
Yes.
interesting weekend recaps to in the weeks to follow.
Okay, I have a question. Did you then, because shopping your closet, shopping your makeup is honestly the best when you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Did you
Mhm.
also purge anything?
I did, yeah, I did because I noticed so I've lived in this apartment for a year, and there was quite a bit of things that I had that I remember, like, going through it again when I was packing and moving,
Mm,
like, up here last summer. So, going through all those things, I see all these random products, and I'm like, "I just have to get rid of them." And I think what I do is I know, like, again, a lot of it which I also have to, like, justify it as well, but a lot of it are, like, samples or free gift with purchase or anything like that,
mhm.
that I just use once or use twice, and I don't add it into my, like, regimen, whether it
Yeah.
be, like, skincare or makeup, and so then I keep on to it, like, I hold on to it because 'cause I'm like, "Maybe I'll use this in the future," but I never do. So that's a lot of things that I got rid of that I just no longer needed. I'm like, this takes up space. I'm not going to use it, right? A lot of like random like moisturizers and cleansers, which I feel like you just go to your like tried and true no matter what. Like I think for me it's very
100%.
rare that maybe like if a season changes, I'll change, but then I'm like I'm going to go back to like Old Faithful because I just like I just know because I just know my skin is going to love that like even more. I
Mhm.
did go through like I had a lot of really old like makeup brushes that, just needed to be like purged, things like that. A lot of like really old like scrunchies and clips that were like barely even functioning. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, I can get rid of these. I don't need to hold on to broken claw clips. So that was kind of the bulk of the things that I definitely went through. But I did go through a decent amount of things to get rid of that I thought would make my box a little less crazy because I think it's so funny like our bathroom box is like my stuff and then like Ryan has like two one of those,
Yeah.
toiletry bags,
Yeah.
of stuff and I'm like, okay, I've got a whole box, but and it's a large box, but yeah, we did purge some things though. So,
I love that. Okay, should we get into our reports? But before we do, I actually want to give
mhm,
a shout out to one of our followers and listeners, Lattes in Life, because for the past few weeks, she's been sharing her reports on her own Instagram. And Jessica and we spoke yesterday and we were talking about our own Instagram strategy. And we're like, hey, like, this would be so cool if we could get more of our listeners to share their weekly reports and it be our thing, something that
mhm.
we cuz who doesn't love recommendation. I don't know, like where there's
Yeah.
this we're in this new flow of influencers. We told you guys last week that we are in our influencer eras, obviously. And so we want to influence you, but we also want you to influence us. So with
Mhm,
that being said, we would love for you guys to share your weekly reports and we hope to, if you guys do share them, we would love to share them on hashtag managed Instagram as well, so that then we're exposing you to our audience, you're exposing us to your audience, and it's a win-win for
mhm.
everybody.
Yeah.
Do you have
Yeah.
anything you want to add?
No, no, I'm so happy you brought that up because I know we talked about that and I really wanted to like shout out to you Lattes in Life for posting and for highlighting your weekly report from everything from what you're reading to treating. It was so fun to just kind of see that and it was in a really fun like carousel and so
Yes.
anyway, I thought that just really like inspired me like to just, like, take more pictures of the things because a
Mhm.
lot of things
Mhm.
too, like, I think in the report, they kind of fall under, like, very sometimes they're like, "Okay, it's something cool that we found," or, "We were influenced to buy this," but a lot of times it's simple things that are already in our routine. So, anyway, I just was really inspired by, like, "Okay, I should probably capture more pictures." Plus, too, Ryland's
Yes.
always slacking me, "Hey, I need a picture of XYZ for the newsletter." So I'm like, "Okay, let me get a little bit better about capturing those things that in my head I might think are super simple, but can be
Mhm.
fun here." So, yeah, we would love to see your weekly reports. If you could tag us in them on Instagram, we would love to, like Madeline said, repost to show our community and to give you a shout out, a little promotion, things like that. Because we know that that definitely helps. But also too, I feel like it would make our account really fun to kind of see,
Mhm.
like it kind of like humanizes us a little bit, which I know like people listen to us and they can get our personalities, but it humanizes like our community as well. And I think that's
Yes.
really cool. And I think that goes deep into like really just our whole mission behind the podcast.
Yes. No, and one last thing I'll add before I dive into my report, and let me just say, you guys, this is the best report I have ever had in my life. But anyways, I loved her carousel too because like you just said, where I was like, I should be taking a picture of my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, why didn't
Hmm.
I? It's just
Right.
so yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh, love it. Okay, let's get into our weekly reports. And
Mhm.
it killed me that we didn't record yesterday because I was like geeking out. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see Jessica's reaction to all of this. So I'm starting. Okay, so I'm still reading. I think I have 15 pages left of
Mhm.
Husbands and Lovers, but what I wanted to share is what I think I'm going to be reading next. And I think what I'm going to read next is that Alchemist, right?
Oh.
I've never read it. Have you read it?
Okay. No, I've never read it, but I always see it
It's
on people's, like, recommended
always,
top 5 books. Yeah.
always. And it's like, I think at Barnes and Noble, when I went and bought it, because, even though I have 15 other books, I always have to buy a new one when I go into Barnes and Noble.
Mhm.
In the section, and I love how Barnes and Noble, they do like they're so clever with, obviously they have the TikTok book section, but this one was on, or this sign said, maybe it's the year to finally read dot 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 kind of thing, where again they
Mhm.
knew that this is one of those books that are on multiple people's TBR list. So
Mhm.
excited about that. It's a shorter book than Husbands and Lovers, so I'm excited to, because I'm hoping I can read at least 5 books this month. I
Mhm.
know that is really pushing it, but we're gonna hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Eating. My current hyperfixation is peanut butter pretzels. Like, the ones that are stuffed with peanut butter. Like I got them at Target, and they come in that big container, big, not jar,
Mhm.
but tub, big tub.
Yeah. Can I
Yeah,
interject really quickly?
yes,
That's on my
yes.
eating.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. I will take a
No.
picture of my pre-written to recording report for proof, but I was like, "I'm gonna talk about these, they're so, like, random."
Wait, where did you get yours from?
Trader Joe's.
Okay, okay, okay. I do like those
Yeah.
ones too. I do like
Yeah.
those ones too. Okay. Playing. I am rewatching Gossip Girl. And you guys, Gossip Girl is a classic, especially if you are a 90s kid, grew up in the 2000s.
Mhm.
And if you would like to rewatch this with me, I'm only in season 1. I think we could have a fun watch party, discuss the product placements, discuss just the cinematic beauty of this show. And if
Yeah.
you would like to rewatch this with me, hit me up in the DMs. I am happy to discuss it. Then I'm obsessing over, this one was my favorite. This one was my favorite. Blake Lively's press tour outfits.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
so good. So
Chef's
good.
kiss, all of them. All of them. I am living for every single outfit. She's going with the floral themes, her nails.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, her nails, her jewelry. She is my jewelry influencer queen. All of it. All of it. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
And then for recommending, I'm recommending that you look at your Q3 and Q4 goals and start making
Mm,
a list of small steps you need to take each day to achieve those goals. I personally have also been doing this just because I feel like Q3 is already gone, even though we're still in it. It feels like in the blink of an eye, poof, we're in
mhm.
Q4. So
Yep.
That's what I'm recommending, and then what I'm treating myself to tie into our Blake Lively theme, is I think I'm going to take myself on a solo date to see It Ends With Us this weekend, and also buy
Mm.
myself some Trader Joe flowers because
Mhm.
why not?
Yeah.
Why
Ooh,
not?
I love that. I love that. Ooh, beautifully themed weekly report. And
Right.
may I add, guys, when you're tagging us in your weekly reports, if you have a theme, that would be so fun. Like, don't tell us your theme. Let us guess your theme of your weekly report.
Yes. Mm,
Normalize theming your weekly reports.
yes. Okay, okay,
I
your
love that.
turn.
Okay, so for my weekly report, I am still reading, and I probably have about 3.5 hours left into the next Mrs. Parrish, but it's so good. It's finally getting to a point because they introduced a new character, and I don't know why, but in a sequel, if there's ever like an introduction to a new character or a new storyline, it really takes me forever to like, because I already know so much about the other
Hmm.
characters, so just trying to weave that in. But wow, now that I'm like in the middle of the book, I feel like we're like, we're really getting to the juicy stuff. It's so good. So it's the sequel in that series. It's the next Mrs. Parrish. It's really good. I'm hoping I can finish it soon. I just feel like I haven't really been I'm like in a really good reading pattern or I'm just not. Like there's no in between for me. And that's been the whole story of 2024. Like my reading schedule is so different than 2023. So, is what it there's so many good books I wanna read though, which I feel like
Mhm.
that's the only reason I'm like, "Ah, I need to, like, speed that this up a little bit." But anyway, so eating, spoiler alert, mine was also the peanut butter filled pretzels, which I have to say I love those. I'm very picky about them though. I will say,
Mhm.
we can be like a foodie podcast for this moment because I don't like them from Whole Foods. They're not good. That's just my opinion.
Mhm.
They're just not good. I can't remember the brand, but I would just avoid it at all costs,
It's like the
to be
3
careful.
it's like their 365 or whatever,
Yeah, it's
or
just
not.
and typically that brand is fine. I'm not typically
Mhm.
like a brand
Mhm.
shopper. I mean, shopping at Trader Joe's, you can't be. So,
Yeah.
and even then, like, those brands don't really, at Publix or Whole Foods or whatnot, they don't ever like throw me off. Sometimes their
Right.
stuff's just as good. But anyway, I think those are like the best. To me, they're just so good. I love peanut butter. Like I know
Mhm.
Madeline, you talked about
Yep.
peanut butter like jelly sandwiches, like and I haven't had one since we talked about that, but I've been craving it the past couple of days,
Mhm.
like so bad. But yeah, anything peanut butter, I'm obsessed with. Except every time, like if I make like peanut butter toast or like a sandwich or like peanut butter crackers, as soon as I open the peanut butter jar, Winston is like immediately by my side because he also needs to lick the spoon or the knife. So anyway, we're peanut butter obsessed in this house.
Mhm.
For playing, we actually just binged a series on Netflix that I think
Ooh.
is from 2023. Maybe end of 2022, I can't quite remember, but it's called Maid. Did you ever watch that?
Like MAD.
Maid, Maid.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
It's actually really good. At first, I couldn't because I always saw it Netflix always recommended it to me, and I don't know if you guys ever have those shows where your Netflix recommends it and you're like, "No,
Mhm.
no, I'm not
Yeah.
watching that. I'm not watching." I feel like it was one of those shows for me, but then we, like, watched the trailer, and I think we were deciding between a couple of things, and we were like, "Let's just watch this." It's like a limited series, which I really like a limited series because then I feel like
Mhm.
you don't have to commit forever. If I'm gonna commit to a series, I'm gonna rewatch something like Gossip Girl or New Girl or Friends or something that is just, like, my comfort show. I can't start something that's 8 seasons long for something new, but it was based on a book, based on a true story, and I have to say it was really good, for being, like, more of, like, a serious matter, type of series. It was um following this woman's life, like escaping like domestic violence and just supporting herself and her child. And it was really good. It was just a true story and brought up a lot of like really good themes around like going back to college to make a better life
Mm.
for yourself. Like, supporting yourself being a housekeeper and how like the wealthy are with how like treating housekeepers. So a lot of like really good themes in that. So I
Ooh,
have to
this
say it was
sorry, I
definitely worth it.
interrupted.
No, 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 go.
The the actors in this, I just looked it up. Now I
Mhm.
feel like this is gonna have to be on my list because it has really good actors who I like.
Yeah, yeah, it really does. Like it was really good. So yeah, I feel like that was a good recommendation. Obsessing over again, you as you all know, I recently went shopping in my own bathroom and I had brand new in the box and I don't even remember buying this, but I had to have bought it because it's like a full size thing. But it's by the brand Pharmacy, like Farmacy Pharmacy. It's a honey like mask, like face mask. And I bought this and typically this because typically like and I think actually it's so funny, there's like a theme here. I'm like looking at last week. I literally talked about a mask. Um, but it's such a good like consistency and it has like ceramides in it. So anyway, I just feel like your skin is so like glowy after using it. But I was like, I'm happy that past Jessica bought this because I really am glad I found it again. But I can't even believe that I bought it and I never even like used it. To me, that's so like unlike me. But
Uh-huh.
I must have just like put it somewhere like hidden in my drawer because it was like at the very, very bottom in its box. And so, I got to open it. It had the fresh little like spatula in it. I'm
Ugh,
like, oh my
the
gosh, like
best,
yeah. So
the best.
that was good. I really like pharmacy products. I don't know if you've used any of them, but
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, they're
I love their makeup remover.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
I
good.
love
Or
yes.
balm, like their makeup
The yep, it's a
remover
green
balm.
yeah,
Yes,
yep,
so good.
yeah, yeah, so I like that. So I'm like, okay, I use like the balm, but I love this mask, so I'm like, I need to explore more pharmacy because other than that, I'm
Mm,
not really too familiar
mhm.
with the brand. So recommending this is so funny because I think this is very timely for sometimes your TikTok page is so timely for what you're doing, but I'm like obviously like packing up a lot of things, I'm cleaning things out, we're donating things as well. Um, but my TikTok for you page is so full right now of, and I hope I'm saying this right because I saved a couple of videos, but under consumption core. Have you heard of that?
Yes, this is
Okay.
we're on
The
each other's same side of TikTok, yep.
yes, this is I am like deep in the side of TikTok and I have to say this is I feel like this is these are my people, okay? Like
Mhm,
I I like buying new things, but I also love like and I think something that's so funny about this is it's always people who are talking about like typically it's like, and I love the like we love the aesthetics things, right? But I also like
mhm,
use so many products and things that aren't aesthetic. I can't remember
mhm.
what that trend is called. It's like, when people like call out their I don't know, do they call it like unaesthetic favorites? They're talking about like, oh, my favorite cleanser is like CeraVe or something, like something random, like that's
Yeah.
not like, a fancy like brand by any means.
I feel like this actually sorry, I'm totally going to bring in something that we were talking about yesterday on our planning call, but I feel
Mhm,
like we were talking about this where in our influencer era, right? We were saying
mhm,
how we a lot of the products that some of the products that we're finding is maybe it is not mainstream and
mhm.
where it trying to give those type of brands the spotlight where it's like, "Hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
let me help you, help me." But
Yeah.
I love this. I love the underconsumption core. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, and I think too, like, I really wanna lean into that because
Mhm.
kind of over and I don't know if I shared this on the podcast yet. I know I shared it with Madeline and Harmony, but over the next couple months, I'm joking, but I'm also kind of serious. I'm telling everyone that my husband and I are becoming nomads because we're honestly kind of living with family for the next couple months, which is going to be exciting for one, saving money and under consumption core,
Mhm.
but also I'm telling people like I'm a nomad. In my head, a nomad is, those influencers who are hopping around, like, backpacking through
Mhm.
Europe, like, taking train to train. I'm not doing that, but, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll do it in the States, but, so anyway, I'm excited to really lean into that more because I feel like I have so many things. So I don't know, I'm kind of, like, in that stage of life where I'm like and I know we've talked about this before, like, not going so much in terms of like purchasing like unsustainable like brands, right? Like I know we talked
Mm.
like I think it all started with our conversation around jewelry, right? Like how do we
Mhm.
like fill our like jewelry with pieces that we can like really like invest in and things like
Mm.
that. And so I don't really think when it comes to like skincare and body care and makeup that you really like invest in it per se, because you'll have to like keep investing in it because you use it so much. But I think that being said, I don't always have to have the new thing that Sephora is emailing me, or
Mm,
that, you know, like Glow Recipe is launching when I already have like something in my makeup bag, for example. So that's kind of what I'm leaning into now and recommending. And then finally, for treating, I signed up for unlimited yoga for when I'm back to Tampa because I'm like in my class era, which is so funny. Like, I have like no desire at this moment to go into the gym and just work out on my own. And that's like who I am. That's like how I've like worked out for like my whole life. So I don't know. Something in me has changed, but I'm entering my workout class era. So more to come on that, but I treated myself to an unlimited yoga pass for the month, so we'll see how many times I go.
I love that. I love that for you. I know hopefully you guys also are laughing as you're listening to this episode. Harmony did such an amazing job on that reel last week where she clipped together Jessica and I saying, "I love that," or "I'm the queen of and again." So,
Mhm.
if you haven't checked that out, be sure to. But I do love that. And with that being said, should we move on to the water cooler? I was about to say on my feed, but water
Yep.
cooler. Okay.
Yes, yes.
I love this one. I do love this one today.
More edits for Harmony for a future reel.
Okay, so this week they say, I'd love to know what's your daily social media routine, more specifically Instagram. Can you share it to can you share it to someone who's trying to have more engagement? Yes.
Mhm.
Do you want to start this or do you want me to start this?
Yeah, I'll start. Because
Mm,
I think kind of my thoughts for it are kind of simple, and definitely love to hear yours as well. So I have to say, when it comes to my daily social media routine, I this is gonna sound so simple, but I don't follow any specific, and I know there's so many different, like, for lack of a better term that I can think of at the moment, gurus or experts or marketers who are like, you need to spend X amount of minutes doing this and doing that and engage with this many people. And it always reminds me too, when I think of what's a daily Instagram routine. I don't know why this is so drilled in my head, but do you remember like a couple years ago, like in 2015, 2016, in that Instagram like heyday, where Gary Vee was like, "You need to do the $1.90 engagement method." Do you remember that?
mhm.
It was something, like,
Mhm.
crazy where you literally engage with, like 90 people, like, in an hour? I don't
Mhm.
know, I might even be, like, remembering it wrong, but it was something absolutely crazy at that point. Anyway, when I think all that to say is that you don't need to follow any specific methodology on social media, because when you think about people who are growing on Instagram, they're growing by way, like through real connections with other real
Mhm.
people on the other end of that account that you're engaging with. So, my typical daily Instagram routine, the first thing that I ever do is I'm automatically in DMs. I just automatically go and click that because I typically have a notification or two over there anyway. So I'm immediately going in there and just looking at the DMs that I have, whether it's, someone like, because I think mainly too, I have a lot of conversations that are ongoing. So I'm like always kind of jumping in there, like continuing the conversation. Um, Seeing if anybody like replied to like a story or like sent me anything or anything like that. So I always start with like the conversations first. And then that way I can make sure that I go through every single thing. I start my day off by sending out my reply, sending out all of that. So I know I can get that conversation like back up and running again, if you
Mhm.
will, for the day. It's also the best reminder for me to do this first thing when I'm opening Instagram, to check my message requests, because
Mhm.
sometimes really good things get lost in a message request. Like someone is actually needing to get in touch with me, or someone's in there who's like interested in like working together, or there's different things. There's a lot of spam, but it gives me time to really clean through that. And then I always at that point, I go straight to my notifications because I'm like, my first things are always trying to just pay back like what I'm getting. And not to think of it as like an exchange, but I don't ever want anything to be like lost in terms of like someone left a comment, anything like that. So I'll go through, I'll see, who replied back to my comments like on their posts or who were, like left comments on our posts. Then I'll even go into at that point into our most recent posts on the feed just to make sure that nothing got missed in the notification center because sometimes that happens. Then after that, I'm first and honestly, this might sometimes too might be my like end point as well. I go to stories. Like I'm going to stories and I'm watching and interacting with that content. And if I need to like pop off, like if I'm like have to go do something else or I'm going into a meeting or whatnot, then I don't even go to the feed right away. So that's kind of how like I think my routine looks like. And I think, kind of bringing it back to like that original like question in the water cooler, like how do you set it up for more engagement? Think about it in the sense of not transactional in terms of what do I need to do to get more, but just think about it in the sense of who can I connect with more on social media. I think if you want to think strategically about it, you can think about what are the types of clients that you want to work with. But I also too like and Madeline, definitely, I don't know if you can attest to this as well, but like when I started my Instagram account for Social Savvy, I was not thinking right away like I'm gonna go engage with these business owners because I want them to hire me. Like I don't think that
No,
thought ever crossed my mind.
no.
Like I was going on Instagram to obviously get started. I was posting content. I mean, clearly I was connecting with other social media marketers. I connected with Madeline. So that tells you like I was connecting with, with other people in the industry who were doing this as well. That's a great
Mhm.
connection to build. I don't care what anyone says. If any gurus like you shouldn't attract your own like industry, like yes, you should. Like we should build each other up in community anyway. But then other than that, like I like to connect with other people like local business owners to not even to pitch my services or push my services on anyone, but just to connect with them because the amount of times that I have received referrals from people who I don't even know, but I talk to them on Instagram. I mean, I like couldn't even tell you guys it's so many times. So think about it in the sense of how can you make more conversations, make more connections, and engagement will come. Engagement will be a byproduct of
Mhm.
that. Anything you'd add, Madeline?
Yes. And before I go into my routine, and it's very similar to Jessica, shocker, I know. But one thing I want to say, touch on before I get into that is what you said about I know there are some gurus out there who are like, oh, you shouldn't attract your like other social media managers. And this has been something I've been thinking about a lot lately with some of the influencers I follow. I believe the true key success to influencing is having multiple audiences and multiple communities. For instance, I'm going to use Avery Woods in this situation. I started following her after COVID. I think the videos that got me to follow her were she would do these funny voiceovers of her daughter, Stevie. Hilarious. And then I just became obsessed with her. Well, she used to be a nurse, and when she's talking, she's speaking to, oh, who are some of the OGs who followed me when I was still a nurse, like when I was a practicing nurse. And I think that's something both Jessica and I do beautifully, in my opinion, where you have the Adidas days, you have the I went back to 9 to 5. Now we're not. Now we got the podcast and just all and like the Facebook group when there wasn't there. Now what? What is it up to? Like 20,000
27?
plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
huge. And so engagement, I think, ties into that as well. But again, sharing those parts and engaging with each of those audiences is going to increase your engagement. But for my routine, I love that our routines are very similar because sometimes I will get in my head when I when I am following some of these other social media managers who are
Mhm.
telling their own audience like, "Oh, you should be engaging 30 minutes in your stories and then an hour in your feed." And I'm like, sometimes you're not in the right mind space or mindset, and
Mhm.
that's something I think is very important to think about. And if we're gonna talk cycle syncing too, there's definitely I'm more social during some weeks and I'm gonna give it my all in the comments. And
Mhm.
Harmony, Jessica and I were talking about this just yesterday. We were saying how sometimes, like, as social media managers, sometimes the comments are so dry and you're just like, you're wishing and hoping for these other social media managers or even again your ideal audience giving you something that you can continue the conversations in the comments, because let's be honest, the community is in your comments,
Mhm.
period. And
Yep.
so I'm similar in my routine. I'll check my emails and then I'll immediately check my DMs because I kind of look at my DMs as emails, but on social media. I'll move to the notifications because, like you said, things will get lost. Sometimes sometimes
Mhm.
things do get lost in my notifications, and I will then respond a few weeks later, which I don't think is a bad thing either because you're then
No,
getting that conversation
'cause
back up.
yeah, you're still
Yeah,
responding. Yeah.
yes. And then I also am like you, I go to stories because it warms me up and I'm like, okay, fun. Like
Mhm.
it's easier to engage with stories, I think, where you're pressing
Mhm.
you're reacting to it, you're commenting, like it is more engaging in my opinion. And then the one, two, three, fourth thing, and this is normally what I do on a typical day is, and I don't think enough people are talking about this. Instead of going to my feed that, Instagram gives me, I make sure to click on the following so that I'm in my
Mhm.
following feed. So who I'm following to make sure
Yeah.
that I am still nurturing my current audience or my client's
Yeah.
current audience. And then so I do try and engage as much as I can with my following, but then I would say more towards the day. It again when I open the app, it's the feed that Instagram gives you. You're going to see more of the
Mhm.
sponsored posts and whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the last thing I want to say is hashtags. I mean, come on, we're hashtag managed. Like, really, can we go without saying, like, yeah, I still do engage with some hashtags. And the other
Mhm.
routine that I'll do is say I'm focusing on, sometimes I have a strategy where I'm really focusing on trying to actually get the attention of a brand or of somebody, and I will go to their tagged posts, and because whoever's tagging said restaurant or brand, that
Mhm.
is their target audience, which then is majority of the time, if I'm doing my research, is my audience, like the client's audience. So
Yeah.
finding those people and engage, that has been so it's been easier and more exciting for me. And I feel like that's something
Yeah.
I've recently gone back into. I feel like I did that in the beginning, like you said, where
Mhm.
when we were connecting
Mhm. Yeah.
in like well, we didn't know each other in 2015, but that's surprising to
Mm.
but like
Yeah.
2018.
Right, right. Yeah.
So,
No, yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good one as well because I think so many people, like, forget about that, and I was kind of just reminded about that. I was on a consultation call, and they are a global company with franchises, and so, again,
mm,
I think franchise companies have very, like, interesting, like, marketing standards or
mhm,
guidelines, whatever you wanna call
mhm,
it, for the company as a whole. But again, on my call, and I'm kind of like, the whole reason you're kind of like talking to me is that you're needing help with, like, localizing each individual, like, location that you have, and so the locations are, like, all over, but I'm like, it does vary from community to community, but you have to, like, really think about the basics of community, right? And to your point, like, where are they eating at? Where are they shopping? Like, where are they, like, going to happy hour or brunch or, like, doing all of those things? Because like you said, those people, that's how normal normal people,
Mhm.
non-social media managers
Yeah.
use Instagram. And when you really think about it in
Mhm.
that sense, like you have to sometimes take your sometimes you have to take your marketer cap off and think like, okay, how would my
Mhm.
friends like use Instagram and tag this business and that business? Okay, now marketer cap back on. Now let me go look at those businesses. Yeah, I love that you added that
100
point.
Yes, 100%, 'cause like you just said, I for there are so many features that have gone away, have come, eh, so many updates are
Mhm.
happening. One I recently just discovered, I promise we'll move on here, but I got a little offended the other day because I wanted to use this feature, and I was like, "Wait, wait, wait, wait. When did we get rid of this feature?" Because I normally stay up to date with all, the updates and news.
Mhm.
Instagram got rid of the quiz sticker. Like, there's the poll,
Oh.
but there's not the
Oh.
quiz.
Is it because when they like switched the poll sticker to kind of be
That
like I don't what? I didn't realize that.
right, right, because and I think I understand, like, what you're saying too, where I feel like the new poll sticker is a combination of the quiz poll, kind
Mhm.
of, but I loved the quiz sticker because it is a
Mhm.
great way for you to test your audience on product knowledge or I
Mhm.
just so many ideas, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Excuse
Yeah.
me, what?" So,
And I
yeah.
also can I add, I miss
Yeah.
the way the old poll sticker looked. Like,
Yes. Oh, I missed the
I'm
red, like,
yeah.
I think I put in our hashtag manage stories, or who knows? We all know I lose track of where I posted what, but where I put in the quiz where I was like, "Yes." No, it was ours because it was,
Mhm.
for our photographer made a reel from our photo
Oh, yep.
shoot, and I was
Yep.
like, "Oh, will we ever get tired of seeing these pictures?" And I put no, and then no in red, where I think I even put like, "Who remembers that?" Because I'm like, yes, that like you could add humor too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Ugh. Ugh, Instagram. The good old days.
right, that should be its own episode too, where
Oh,
all
yeah.
the old features to new, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that
Okay.
would be good. Okay, well, we'll table that for a future episode. Should we dive into what's on our feed?
Yes, yes, because I'm pumped
Okay,
to talk
so
about this too.
okay, so on my feed, like I mentioned, one of my favorite places is a chain kind of in and around the like tri-state, like New York, Connecticut, New Jersey area. It's called Glow Bar. It's a really cool like business model to like get facials, things like that. They have a really awesome experience. Anyway, they opened a new location and I think they're kind of in a phase of business where they're opening many locations. And one of my favorite things when it comes to social media content, I just want to know the social media manager who got this content idea approved because it's so funny. So they're at their new location and it's like breaking our CEO arrested at the grand opening and I can't remember the specific town. But arrested at that. And honestly, she fully committed to the bit because I don't know if it's I don't know how she knows this police officer. Maybe that police department has a TikTok presence as well. That could be a really
Mhm.
fun collab. I was kind of thinking about
Yeah.
that. Again, and literally, he's ducking her head, like putting her into the cop car, and it's so funny. But the comments are just people are like, "This is hilarious! Like this is so funny." It's so simple. It has to be what 9 seconds of a video of literally just quick text on and now like, it's reaching I mean, it's reaching a lot of people because it's going viral, but it's reaching all the people in the area because 'cause they're probably like, "Oh, new location opened up in my town," and it's so funny. So I wanted to shout that out because I thought really creative. I love that a creative idea got approved because I know as social media managers, we
Mhm.
pitch a lot of fun ideas. Sometimes they do it, sometimes we do it, sometimes it doesn't get approved. But anyway, I just thought it was so funny, and it's one of those things where if you're thinking of, like, how do I attract attention to my client's new store, my client's new product, my client's new service, I mean, you don't have to, like full disclosure, you don't have to arrest your client. I think this was fully for the bit, but it can be simple, it can be funny, it can be humorous, and people will like it. It doesn't have to be elaborate, extensive. So I think so many people talk about how do you launch something new on social media. I mean, there's a ton of ways to do it. I just thought this was such a creative and really fun way. So that's what's on my feed. So I think their TikTok handle is at Get Glow Bar. They have like a
Okay.
really bright orange, like neon profile picture, and it's like one of their top or most recent reels, and it's like over 100,000 views and growing. So,
Fun fact, I think I actually applied to work to be one of their some position when I was
oh,
going through my 9 to 5 stunt. Obviously, I didn't, but this which is
that's so
fine.
funny.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not bitter or anything, but but like this is like that's the dream. Putting that out there though, like
Mhm.
getting a client like Glow Bar or should I even say like, I feel like I could help bring Dry Bar back and be like, "This is absolutely what you're doing wrong," but I love
Yeah,
that though about the localizing though because and what you were saying about yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I'm moving on. So what's on my feed? Oh my gosh. Okay, so Jessica and Harmony both have seen that I just wouldn't shut up about it pretty much. But Anthropology's Saloon slash Anthropology's Fall 24 launch. Oh my gosh. I'll link a few of these things. So it all started with their Anthro Saloon. So it was a carousel post that they posted last week and they partnered with this local bar. I even screenshotted the bar because I was like, I want to see how much they grow with this
Mhm.
collaboration because
Oh, yeah.
immediately I was like follow because I'm like that is genius.
Mhm.
This is I follow so many random things but I'm like no this is absolutely.
Mhm.
And it's in New York and obviously I'm like I need to go here the next time I'm in New York. But their launch, everything just tied in so beautifully. So I'm gonna make sure to also include the landing page to their 2024 launch because their e-commerce team, you guys, deserves a raise. Anthro, if you're listening, everything you do is gold. I will be somebody's assistant. I will be the janitor just to be able to say I work for Anthropology. Oh my gosh. And so if you were to go through their 2024 launch on their website, you'll all the images are beautiful. It's Anthropology. But they decided or not decide well yes they decided in their little meeting but you will scroll over the images and there's a video clips and this is a trend again I know I'm the marketing girly pop here but I have this soft spot for e-commerce too and just how e-commerce and marketing work together and I think a lot of that actually has to do with working at Adidas that I didn't realize at the time like gaining that skill set and so that's again to everybody listening who if you're wanting to like learn a new skill set like do it because it's going to only help you in your marketing business but I digress so you scroll over these images and they're beautiful little clips immediately I'm like there's 100% they're going to use these clips to incorporate into their Instagram into their Pinterest and lo and behold if you
Mhm.
go to their Pinterest and their Instagram, they do exactly that. And I think that speaks volumes in showing you that your marketing team really does need to be involved and know what's going on in every single department because and I've
Mhm.
seen that in some places I've worked at is they'll like not include their marketing in some meetings where I'm like not trying to be nosy here, but I'm really trying to help you
Yeah.
excel in this campaign and I think this just goes to show what a beautiful campaign honestly this should probably be a case study I'm just throwing that out there because
Mhm.
it is unreal
Yeah.
hopefully I
Agreed.
did that justice but so yeah so
Yeah.
the Anthropology Saloon and Anthros Fall 24 launch collection
Mhm.
chef's kiss A
Yeah.
plus plus
Yeah. And might I add to this? I think that what everything Anthropology is doing in this launch is everything that, like, Madeline and I, when we're kind of, over the past couple episodes, we've been highlighting brands who are coming back, relaunching,
Mhm.
rebranding, doing all of these things. And we're kind of doing like, we're social media marketers, right? We're going to do it. We're going to do the sleuthing and see, like, okay, what are you doing over here on the website? What are you doing on Instagram? What are you doing on Pinterest? What are you doing on TikTok? Like, what are you doing on email? Like, we want to know
Mhm.
if everything is like rolled out and if it's a consistent, cohesive, like, why am I blanking on what that word is? Like omni-channel presence? Like I know that's
Mm.
probably like a super technical term, but like if every touch point that I see of the brand in this moment is this launch, like to me that creates such a great experience for your clients or customers, and it doesn't have to be extensive. I mean, granted Anthropologie's done an awesome job. I mean, they have the budget, the marketing team,
Mhm.
the resources to do it. But sometimes it's just simple. Like when your audience is clicking over to your website and that really simple but like great experience of seeing those video clips, of seeing what's going on Instagram, like that is going to create such a great experience. And we know that I think Anthropology is probably the best at that, right? Like
Mm.
experiential marketing. I mean, you go into the stores, right? You buy from
Ugh.
them. Like everything's an experience.
Every like, the smell, like, you like, people will say, "I
Mhm.
want my home to smell like Anthropologie," because they have
Yep.
made the claim of, like, the volcano
Yep.
Capri. Like,
Mhm.
that is their staple. But something else, if there are any boutique owners or online e-commerce listeners listening, because again, I working for boutique, something that I have noticed is oftentimes, because yes, small business. I understand that Anthropologie is on a huge scale. Like Jessica said, they have the budget, they have the team. You might be one person, but one thing I hope you take from this is how important strategy is, because working with some boutique owners, they'll order their stuff. This is just things I've witnessed. Is like, let's
Mhm.
take St. Patrick's Day, for instance. One,
Mhm.
maybe you don't need to be buying the St. Patrick's Day shirts. But the other thing I notice is they'll buy it 2 weeks before and then tell a social media manager, hey, let's go. I need this out.
Mhm.
If you take your time with your and actually hire a social media strategist, a marketing strategist, you
Mhm.
I've said this time and time again, you do not have to be a Fortune 500 company to have Fortune 500 marketing. And this is a case in point where it comes down to your strategy. The holidays are around the corner. What are you thinking
Mhm.
about? Oh, let's take it back to my recommendation for this week. You know, do you have your email campaigns ready? Like, is there a
Mhm.
common theme? Again, that always helps me, is like that you could tell I this is how I envision this marketing meeting went. They're throwing out Anthro Saloon. They're throwing out rodeo, or just different
Mhm.
different
Mhm. Yep.
party ideas, and they're like, ooh, I love the Anthro Saloon, because obviously you can see it's very their clothing is western. It's very
Mhm.
timely because of Beyonce's album, and just it's
Mhm.
trends, like
Yeah.
that's the point. But Anthropologie, to me, also, they have staple pieces, like, that
Mhm.
can live in your closet for years. Personally, that's why I wish my whole entire closet was Anthropologie.
Right,
But
right.
the last thing I will say to this too, because I'm just so obsessed, is when I was looking on their Pinterest too, the reason why I was just like, that is a genius to do a collaboration with this bar, with this saloon, was because there's still like a lifestyle company where they have kitchenware, they have glassware. So I could tell they also partnered with a whiskey company. And like, if you look at their Pinterest, which I'll include the link in the newsletter, or you can just do in your free time, it's not hard. But just their oh, it's so beautiful. It is a work of art, and I just love it so much. I get the
Mhm.
marketing brain where
Yeah.
my hats go off to the entire anthropology team. Like, I
Mhm.
hope they listen to this, and who are we? But oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Perfectly said. Perfect.
okay.
Should we dive into our topic? So we're,
Yeah.
as you can tell, we wanted to do a check-in. We kind of did this on last week's episode a little bit, but we want to check in on our 2024 predictions. I mean, we're definitely a little over halfway to the end of the year, but let's check in and see on what we talked about. And I think we brought up four predictions and just four topics in that episode. So you can definitely scroll back. That was our first ever episode that we recorded. And should we dive into it? Should I just kind of read maybe each topic and then we can kind of
Yeah.
both give some thoughts and then go from it that way? Okay.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Perfect. Excuse us, guys. We're just planning this episode as we go in. But hey, that's the realness that we're bringing. So, okay. So our first prediction for 2024 was the increasing significance of engaging in more direct conversations with the audience via DMs. And I have to
I
say
would say
I didn't even look at this before I talked about like my whole engagement plan, you know? But
uh-huh.
what do you think about this prediction, Madeline?
I would say we're pretty spot on because I feel like I've seen other businesses really focus on DM strategies just with maybe even I know you guys use it as social savvy and hashtag manage collective is
Mhm.
when you can comment podcast or comment a word and it instantly like the DM gets sent. So very much
Yeah.
like SMS marketing
Yeah.
too. I don't know if we really talked about that, but I feel like the SMS and DMs really go hand in hand. So
Mhm.
I would say we're pretty spot on with that. And I feel like Instagram themselves have actually said that. Like they're really wanting to
Mhm.
see the connect because they know people are that's why they're saying that people they're focused on the shares. Like
Yeah.
likes cool whatever, saves cool whatever, shares because
Yep.
if people are sharing your post, that means it resonated with them. They want to share it with their friends. Maybe they're sharing it to their stories. So I would say we're pretty spot on with that one.
Mhm. Yeah. I would agree. I would agree. I think too, have you seen, I think it just rolled out. Have you seen the new, I guess it's, I think in my opinion, it's a rebrand of the broadcast channels, but now they're called channels. And I think you can create
Mm,
multiple channels.
mm,
I haven't really like dabbled too much into it like in this moment, but I did see it when it's like, you know, when you're like going to create, right? On Instagram, you can create a post, a reel, a story, go live, fundraiser, like all of the
mhm.
things that it asks you. Like now it's there where you can, it's kind of like a rebranded, I think, of the broadcast channel. But again, I think that shows like an emphasis on, you know, DMs and sending those messages. And I think an important thing that I still notice, and I know it's time consuming, I know it is, but I really think like if you're a social media manager slash marketer, and you're not including like engagement or anything like this in your package, I
Mm,
think you definitely should be. Like, it can definitely be an add on, like up that charge. It's going to be more time for sure. But this is one of those things where people are using Instagram like Google. And if they're going on and they're searching for their answer or finding this store, finding this location, this service, this product, what have you, and they ask a question in a comment, get them into a DM. Like,
ugh,
whether you use like a tool like mini chat, like for that dropping a keyword or not, just send them a DM. Hey Jessica, I saw you dropped a comment on our post about like booking unlimited yoga. I'd love to like chat more and just
mm,
see which, like how we can get you started. Like using my like thing I just treated myself with as like a quick example there. But just again, like having that conversation is so important because I will go out on a limb and say that Like, I would probably guess that 95% of your competitors are probably not doing that, if not all of them. Like, they're not doing that at
Mhm.
all. And that is, we're always thinking, like, how do I grow my Instagram and get more followers and do this and do that? And I know you always hear, like, okay, the quality over quantity, like this DM piece to me, that is what is going to make the most difference in your business.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, the next one, which I think Mal and I are very opinionated about this one. A shift in the influencing landscape, moving towards de emphasizing traditional influencer marketing. Yes. Yes.
If you're just now tuning in, be sure to listen to like the last 2 episodes. Honestly, start from the very beginning of this year, but and now that we're in our influencer eras, yes. Um,
Yeah. I think we were so spot on with this. I think 2024 is the year that the I think the business owner has always kind of been an influencer in my head. But I
mhm,
think 2024 is the year. I mean, listen to last week's episode. Social media managers, your time to shine behind the feed and the
mhm,
account. Employees of the business, their time to shine. And influencing is one of those things. It is I don't know the specific stat, and I know we talked about this. We need to do an episode all around the creator economy because it is a billion-dollar industry and growing, and it's insane the growth it's going to have even over the next year. But with that being said, brands are becoming more and more weary about influencers. And I think it's so funny. And our opinions around influencers are by any means not to put them down in what they're doing, but
mm,
there's so much room for the social media manager to influence, the employees to influence, for the community, like your buyers to be influencers. And I think next year in 2025, like not me jumping the gun here to like predict that, but I think 2025 more brand events and like brand
mhm.
activations are going to be more community based. And I think the brands who are doing it this year like get it. I just saw someone who did one and I'm like blanking on what the brand is. I'll have to find it and I can like bring it to next week's episode. But one brand just did a community event and like a brand trip and I thought they did such a good job. But anyway, more and more brands are doing it, but I think that's going to be a really big push for next year as well.
Yeah. I have one other thing to add to that. If you're listening, so one of my best friends, Danielle, she lives out in the country in Illinois, like homestead.
Mhm.
Okay. She doesn't have a homestead, but they want to have a homestead one day. And I could tell, like, she actually, like, she's gotten a few things that she's popped onto her stories to talk about. And I told her, I'm like, you need to like monetize this. Not me literally always being my friend's social media manager and marketer being like, we're both gonna benefit from this when I make you rich. But and I was like, you need to like really lean into this. And she's like, Maddie, who am I going to influence? She's like, I live out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, exactly. Like you're going to influence other farmers' wives. And
Mhm.
I was like, you went to school in the city. I'm like, because she's like, I only have like 1,000 followers. I'm like, so?
Mhm.
Like, let's go. So, again, that's just a message to anybody out there who's listening who is like, why, like, not me? I could never. Yeah, you can. And
Mhm.
Jessica and I will both be there to hype you up. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. I think too there is a niche for everything. And there
Everything.
right? And because even I think about people who like live like in a city or in the suburbs and they're like, I want her life. Like I want to go live on a farm. Like I have those thoughts all the
Yes.
time. I'm like, I need to
That,
leave the simple things behind. Like, let's go.
well, and that's what I told her. I was like, Danielle, I was like, there are so many days where I'm like, let's just go make our own homestead. Like, I want a
Mhm.
lavender farm. I want chickens. And so, exactly, you may convince people to like leave their life
Yeah.
and start another chapter.
Mhm. And I
Yeah.
think that right there, that's the key to influencing. Like when you understand that mindset that your life and I know all of us go through that mindset of, okay, we don't have the best this or the best that. Like, our
Mm,
house isn't so aesthetic. Like this, my life isn't so perfect. Like to someone else, your life is what they're striving for.
mm,
And that is always something that I always like think about. Like, and it's just, so anyway, just all that to say, like, this is the year that more people I think are influencing it, and I've seen it too, like in my friends and even like family members and like friends, like family friends as well. Like they're influencing in their own way. And it's so cool because I do know a couple of like friends who are like very successful influencers, like
mm,
hundreds and
mhm,
hundreds of thousands to even millions of followers, and they're definitely monetizing it. But so I'm like, if they can do it, like anyone else can do it because we
mm.
all like come from the same place pretty much. So I think our next prediction really falls into this as well because I think once you like master your personal brand, then
Mm,
you're like you have that like confidence to influence. So we talked about the emergence of personal branding and tapping into one's existing personal brand to be a trendsetter. And may I dare add that Madeline is tapping into her jewelry influencer. I'm like, I guys,
yes.
I'm like, I will keep hyping Madeline up until she is sponsored by every jewelry brand. So, but
Yes, no, that's exactly what I was gonna say, where I'm really excited too, where I think you have to just find that thing where I know I've mentioned Avery Woods a few times on this, but she, I think, was the one who kind of got my creative juices flowing and just the wheels turning in my mind because I love, love, love her jewelry. Like she is always wearing like the best neck. Granted,
mhm,
they are designer. I
mhm,
can't afford that right now. Right now is the key
mhm,
here. But
mhm,
like, she has this beautiful evil eye David Yurman necklace that she like, her and her husband, like, they didn't know that they bought each other similar necklaces, and I was like, "I love that because I
mhm,
know Brennan here's an maybe I should do this too, you guys are making me think because Brennan actually really does enjoy jewelry too, like, he always has, like, beaded
mhm.
bracelets, and
Yeah.
he really wanted to have a necklace instead of a wedding ring, and I was like, "Absolutely not. Absolutely not, sir." Because we've talked, he, like, kind of wants to he
Mhm,
just does not like rings, and he's like, "I wouldn't mind
mhm.
tattooing something," he just hasn't decided what he wants. But
Yeah,
where I was going with that, though, is just the necklaces. Maybe I need to show you guys his jewelry stacks too one of these days.
yeah.
But yeah, like,
We have
that just
2 influencers in the same house.
Right, right. Oh my gosh, he would die. He'd be like, he'd be like, "I'm not in it, right? Like, my face isn't in this." Me, "Okay."
Right. Oh my
But
gosh, that's so
yes,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think and I know too we probably touched on that episode as well, but just to, like, sum it up really quickly here, like, we all have a personal brand, and it's just figuring out how do you want to leverage that personal brand, and it's unique to all of us. So, I
Mhm.
think just really thinking about what content can you create, like, it can be video content, it can be photo content. Shoot, if you wanna start with your, like, weekly reports that we do, like, and, tag us too. But also, in all
Yeah.
seriousness, that's a good way to, like, really get used to, like, capturing your life and then sharing it. And
Mhm.
the more and more that you do it, the more second nature it comes, and you'll be posting so, so much. So, I think definitely leaning into personal brands is still going to be important, if not as important as it has been. And our final thing that we talked about was highlighting the importance of prioritizing email list growth over just focusing on Instagram followers. And I think we really this was before the newsletter was born. So this was I mean we were trendsetters with this one, with this prediction, but I think we've really created the newsletter into like something that is a great resource that people like want to receive in their inbox, and I know we'll keep like iterating it, but
I
having
mean, I
a
hope so.
yeah, no, I I think so, and I think any business can thrive with a newsletter, and it's all about figuring out how do we capture people onto that email list and, what's in it for them. For example, we are working with a new client and they are a brick and mortar store. And so they have emails like through their like POS, but they don't have
Mhm.
like a traditional email list or anything like that. So I don't know, guys. I get really nerdy when I have to like build things from scratch in terms of marketing because I don't know, it's just so much more fun than like getting in and cleaning up. Like I can
Mhm.
like start from scratch and then, anyway. So, you know, one of the main topics that we talked about with them is, why would someone, why do people come into their store to shop? And then why would people go to their e-commerce store to shop? Why would people join their email list? Why would people follow them on Instagram? It's just asking those really simple questions can really help you understand like what you actually need to do to grow that email list. So, I think if you haven't started your list yet, even as a social media manager, now's the time to start. It's a great place to create content. It's a great place to nurture your audience. And, of course, I think it goes without being said that is an audience that you own, that you can always
Mhm.
in the sense of take them from platform to platform, right? Like from email tool to email tool. That is something that you don't really get that luxury on Instagram or TikTok. Like, can you send people to another platform? Absolutely. But you don't actually physically like own that data, if that makes sense.
And I think that ties in perfectly and is a great ending note to this episode too, where my recommendation, like revisiting your quarterly goals, and maybe it was on your one of your goals this year to start that email list. And I believe it was last week's water cooler where somebody asked us, can a social media manager have a newsletter? And case
Mhm.
in point, the
Mhm.
social club. And if you are wondering, what should I be emailing clients? Email them behind the scenes stuff too. Like
Mhm.
I we are the queens of Easter eggs. Like the whole like last week's or yeah, last week's, because as you guys are listening to this, last week's I had so much fun with the subject line last week because I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna start to have inside jokes here. We're gonna start to have inside jokes on hashtag manage.
Mhm.
And I was looking at the opening rate and it's still average, but
Mhm.
I love geeking out about that stuff. Like you were saying, like when you can do it from scratch, oh my gosh, there's no better feeling because you get to
Mhm.
really see your baby come to life and it grow and just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. No, I think that's a great way to like close out the episode as well. And I think that that advice like going back to your goals and kind of thinking about it with all of the 2024 predictions because there is still plenty of time in
Mm-hmm.
2024.
Yes.
So don't feel like you are behind, you are not, you are right on time and there is so much more to 2024 and you can get a lot of stuff done before the year is done. So if you want influence, if you want a personal brand, if you want an email list, like you can do it.
That,
There's so much
mhm.
more time to do it. So, well, I think that's a wrap on this week's episode. I so appreciate you guys listening. And Madeline, do you want to close us out?
Yes, we would so greatly appreciate it if you guys were to leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening to us, Spotify, Apple. Are we on Amazon Music? I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, I think
okay.
so. We're on everything. Yes.
Yeah,
I
so
know, like, yeah, all the podcast platforms.
all of them. So if you would leave us a review, that would be so amazing. Subscribe to the Social Club newsletter, which we'll include in the show notes. And you can also in our link in our bio on Instagram. We'd love it if you left us a hotline, hashtag hotline message. And just so you guys are aware, it can be anything. It can be just to say hi. It can be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I actually love peanut butter pretzels as well. Honestly, just anything would make our day, would make our
Agreed.
day.
Agreed.
Um, I think so. newsletter, review, subscribe. And I think that's all.
Yep, I think so. I think so. Well, thank you again, everyone, for listening to this week's episode. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at #managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding, but we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.